Most people think prepping means bulk buying rice and pasta. That's the wrong aisle entirely. Tesco's been quietly delisting products for months. Shelf space is shrinking. Once an item goes, it doesn't come back. One item on this list costs under £1 and replaces a £15 piece of medical kit. It's sitting in your kitchen drawer right now. 9 items, all from Tesco, all under £2 each. Every one of them chosen using the same supply logic the military uses to stock forward operating bases. By the end of this video, you'll see a completely different shop floor from everyone else pushing their trolley past it. Item 1. Tesco own brand Firelighters. This isn't a barbecue product. It's a waterproof heat source that burns for 8 to 12 minutes, weighs almost nothing, and costs roughly £2 for 24 units. Go online right now and search for a dedicated survival fire starter. You'll pay £10 to £15 for something that does the exact same job. Same burn time, same heat output, fraction of the weight. The only difference is the packaging and the word tactical printed on the front. British Army field exercise doctrine is clear on this. The ability to establish a reliable heat source in wet conditions without specialist tools isn't a nice to have. It's a basic competency. Every recruit learns it, every exercise tests it. Rain, sleet, frozen ground, doesn't matter. You need fire. You need it now, and you need it from something you can carry 50 of without noticing the weight. Here's where the supply chain matters. Firelighters are being rationalized out of year-round shelf space. Tesco's shifting them into seasonal stock, summer only. That means come October, you're not buying them at £2. You're paying 4 times that from a camping supplier, or you're not buying them at all. The window on this one is already closing. While most people walk past the barbecue aisle without a second glance, you're stocking a heat source that works when everything else is wet, cold, and useless. £2. 24 units. That's roughly 8p per fire. I've put together a guide covering everything you need to know about building a supply system like this. First link in the description. Item 2. Tinned corned beef. This one's got history behind it. Corned beef was a staple of British military rations from the Boer War through to the 90s, not because it tastes exceptional, because it works. 250 kilocalories per 100 grams, 3 to 5 year shelf life. Requires no cooking, no water, no preparation. You pull the tab, you eat. That's it. The supply chain runs through Brazil and Argentina. That means long shipping routes, currency fluctuations, and vulnerability to disruption at every stage. Tesco's already reduced its tinned meat range. Consumer trends are shifting toward plant-based products, and retailers follow the margin. So you've got a product being squeezed from both ends. Declining demand means less shelf space. Rising import costs mean higher prices on what remains. Most people stockpiling food grab rice and pasta. Sounds sensible until you do the maths. Dry rice gives you roughly 130 kilocalories per 100 grams uncooked. You need water to prepare it, you need heat to cook it, you need time. Corned beef nearly doubles the calorie density with 0 preparation requirements. Not this, specifically this. The running total is now under £4 for 2 items. Item 3. Condensed milk. One 400-gram tin delivers roughly 1,300 kilocalories. Read that number again, 1,300. That's nearly 2/3 of your daily intake from a single container that costs approximately £1.50 and lasts 2 or more years on a shelf. Military ration planners have used condensed milk for over a century. The reason is pure mathematics. The calorie per gram ratio is extraordinarily difficult to match with any other shelf-stable product at this price point. You'd need to spend £5 to £8 on a dedicated emergency ration bar to get the same energy content. And that bar does one thing. Condensed milk goes in tea over porridge, straight from the tin if it comes to that. It's fuel your body can use immediately because the sugar content means rapid energy availability. Dairy supply chains are under constant pressure. Tin plating costs have risen. Availability has been intermittent in some stores. This is a product that could quietly reformulate, shrink in size, or disappear from the value range without anyone noticing until it's gone. While others fixate on freeze-dried meals at £10 a pouch, you're getting equivalent calories for a fraction of the cost. Running total, roughly £5.50 for 3 items. Item 4. Tesco thick bleach. Most people see bleach and think cleaning product. That's one function. Here's the one most people miss entirely. Emergency water purification. Roughly 16 drops of unscented household bleach per gallon of water. That's not a survivalist trick. It's referenced in civil contingency guidance. The active ingredient is sodium hypochlorite, the same compound used in dedicated water purification tablets that cost you £5 to £8 for a pack that treats a fraction of the volume. A 750 milliliter bottle costs under 50 pence. Work out how many litres of water that treats. Now compare that to the cost per litre using purification tablets. The difference isn't marginal. It's an order of magnitude. Same active ingredient, fraction of the price. Available in every supermarket in the country. There's a catch. Shelf life at full potency runs 6 to 12 months. So you rotate it. At under 50 pence per bottle, you're rotating a product you already use for cleaning. The cost of maintaining this capability is essentially zero because you're buying bleach anyway. You're just buying the right bleach and knowing what else it does. Without clean water, nothing else on this list matters. Not the food, not the fire, not the medical supplies. Water is the first failure point in every disruption scenario, and the solution costs less than a chocolate bar. Running total, just under £6 for 4 items. Item 5. Tesco Value Black Tea Bags. This one gets dismissed. That's a mistake. During the Falklands, restoring tea supply to forward positions was treated as a logistics priority, not sentimentality, operational doctrine. Morale is a force multiplier. A warm drink in cold, wet, miserable conditions changes decision-making, reduces error rates, and keeps people functional when everything around them is falling apart. But it goes beyond morale. Tannins in black tea have mild antiseptic properties. Field Expedient Wound Care has used cooled tea as a wash for minor wounds for generations. It's not a replacement for proper medical treatment. It's what you use when proper medical treatment isn't available yet. A warm drink is also a core component of cold weather casualty management. If someone's hypothermic, you don't just wrap them in a blanket. You warm them from the inside. Tea demonstrated barter value during wartime rationing. It became currency. People traded tea for meat, for fuel, for favors. That historical pattern tells you something about what people value when systems break down. It's not always the obvious items. The 240 bag boxes are shrinking in availability. Prices are rising. Stock, while the bulk format still exists, the cost per cup from a value box is so small it barely registers. The capability it provides is out of all proportion to the price. Running total, under £7 for 5 items. Item 6. This is the one. Write this down. Petroleum jelly. £1 for a 100-gram tub. This is the item that separates someone who's read a prepper blog from someone who actually understands field logistics. Function 1. Fire accelerant. Take a cotton wool ball, coat it in petroleum jelly. You've just made a firelighter that burns for several minutes in wind and rain. Pair it with the firelighters from item 1 and you've got a fire system that works in conditions that would defeat matches, lighters, and most commercial fire starters. Function 2. Anti-chafe agent for extended movement under load. This is drilled into infantry recruits from day 1. If you're carrying a pack and moving for hours, chafing isn't discomfort, it's a mobility injury. Petroleum jelly prevents it entirely. Function 3. Corrosion inhibitor. Coat metal tools, knife blades and moving parts. Prevents rust. Extends the working life of everything in your kit. Function 4. Wound sealant. Creates a barrier against dirt and moisture on minor cuts and abrasions. Not a substitute for proper dressing, a stopgap that buys you time until proper dressing is available. Function 5. Boot waterproofer. Work it into leather seams. Water beads off. Your feet stay dry. Dry feet aren't a comfort issue. In sustained cold and wet conditions, dry feet are the difference between staying mobile and becoming a casualty. 5 distinct survival applications from a single product that costs £1 and has an essentially indefinite shelf life. No mainstream prepper list includes petroleum jelly. But find me another item in any supermarket that delivers 5 critical functions at 1 penny per use with no expiry date. You won't. Because it doesn't exist. Most people walk past it in the toiletries aisle without a thought. You're not most people. Not anymore. Running total. Under £8 for 6 items. Item 7. Earth milk. Here's something most people don't think about. Fresh milk is one of the first products to vanish in any supply disruption. It depends on continuous refrigeration and rapid turnover. Break either link and it's gone within days. Heart eliminates both vulnerabilities. 6 to 9 months shelf life. No cold chain required. Sits on a shelf in your cupboard and waits. Tesco's been reducing its shelf space in favour of fresh milk. Fresh carries higher margins for the retailer. That's a commercial decision, not a supply decision. It means the product that's actually more resilient is being deprioritized in favour of the product that generates more profit per unit. That gap between what's commercially smart and what's practically smart is exactly where you need to be paying attention. There's a tactical advantage here that goes beyond nutrition. Nobody questions a household buying several cartons of long-life milk. It draws zero attention. No raised eyebrows. No awkward conversations. You're building a stockpile in plain sight and nobody notices. Compare that to someone loading a trolley with freeze-dried ration packs or water purification systems. One looks normal. The other starts conversations you don't want to have. The calorie content isn't extraordinary. Roughly 65 kilocalories per 100 milliliters. The value is in the resilience. When fresh milk disappears in the first 48 hours of a disruption, you're still pouring it in your tea, over your porridge, and into your condensed milk mix to stretch. Your calorie supply further. Running total. Roughly £9 for 7 items. Item 8. Tesco own brand honey. Honey doesn't spoil. That's not an exaggeration. It's a material fact. Honey recovered from ancient tombs, thousands of years old, was still edible. The chemical composition, low moisture content and natural acidity prevents bacterial growth indefinitely. You're not buying a product with a shelf life. You're buying a product that outlasts the shelf, 304 kilocalories per 100 grams. Rapid energy. The sugar profile means your body processes it quickly, which matters when you need fuel now, not in an hour after digestion catches up. It's not a meal replacement, it's an energy bridge between meals when meals aren't available on schedule. The antibacterial properties are well documented. Medical-grade honey is used in NH's wound care. Standard supermarket honey still contains the hydrogen peroxide-producing enzymes that give it those properties. It's not as controlled or concentrated as the medical-grade version. But when you don't have the medical-grade version, you use what you have. And what you have is sitting in your kitchen cupboard with no expiry date. Here's the supply picture. Most supermarket honey is imported from blended international sources. That makes it vulnerable to shipping disruption, regulatory changes on origin labeling, and tariff adjustments. Prices have already risen. Pack sizes have already shrunk. If you've been buying the same jar for the last 3 years, you've watched it get smaller and more expensive in real time. That trend doesn't reverse. Running total, roughly £11 for 8 items. Item 9, cling film. Now pay attention to this. Under £1 for a 30-metre roll. In British military combat first aid, cling film is the standard initial treatment for burns. Not gauze, not a dedicated dressing, cling film. It's sterile in the roll, non-adherent so it doesn't bond to the wound. Transparent, so you can assess the injury without removing the covering. This is taught in British military medical training and recommended in NHS emergency guidance. A dedicated sterile burn dressing from a medical supplier costs £15 or more. It does one thing. Cling film does the same job and costs under £1. But it doesn't stop at burns. Wrap it around kit to waterproof it. Use it to preserve food without refrigeration. Fashion it into an improvised vapor barrier in extreme cold. Layer it over a wound dressing to keep moisture and contamination out. Each function on its own would justify stocking it. Together they make this the single most undervalued item in any supermarket. The civilian mistake is buying a £10 first aid kit and assuming you're covered for burns. You're not. Most consumer first aid kits don't include a burn dressing at all. The ones that do include a single dressing the size of a playing card. Meanwhile, you've got 30 meters of the stuff for under £1. That's enough to treat multiple burns, wrap multiple pieces of kit, and still have material left over. The most important medical supply on this list has been sitting in your kitchen drawer this entire time. You've used it to cover leftovers. You've pulled it out to wrap a sandwich. And you've never once seen it for what it actually is. A sterile, non-adherent, transparent trauma covering that costs less than a bag of crisps. Total cost for all 9 items. Under £13. 9 items. Multiple survival functions per item. Exposed shelf lives ranging from 6 months to literally forever. All of it from a single supermarket run that looks completely ordinary to everyone around you. The people who act on this buy at retail. The people who wait pay more, substitute with worse, or go without entirely. I've written up a full guide on building this kind of supply thinking into your routine. First link in the description. One question. Which of these 9 was already in your kitchen and you'd never thought to use it this way? Drop it in the comments.